it implicates obviously much more than just Second Amendment rights. There's also First Amendment rights are very much implicated in these attempts to block the sharing of files. I mean, look, I've got, this is the patent drawing for the 1911. This is a 100-year-old gun. It's very popular, famous. There's also one right here in the physical real world. But this is essentially the same thing as a CAD file. It gives you all the specifications for what the measurements are for the gun and how to build one. And in sharing this, even here on this platform on YouTube, potentially may be a violation of that New Jersey law. And publishing these for public consumption in New Jersey, even though they're focused on the CAD file, there's really no practical difference. And so the CAD file is just a digital representation of the information that's in this.
I think, there's at least an awareness on the lawmakers' part that there's something about a digital model itself in 3 dimensions, which is somehow more terrifying than the 2D model. But they don't write the laws that way, right? Mm-hmm. So they, just like the ATF rule, they want to give themselves actually a maximum of police power and see if people like me and SAF and FPC can kind of whittle it down to the core of, 3D CAD or 3D CAM, however they want to define these things. And this is actually the heart of the latest federal problem that we have too, where, after we beat the State Department, and maybe this doesn't matter so much, but there's now this dispute about what is a CAD file versus what is a CAM file, and what is regulated and does that matter?
I haven't seen quite as much uproar about this through the media. I think maybe people don't really even understand how broad these laws actually are and how much is implicated beyond just gun rights, which, obviously many media outlets are not favorable towards gun rights and might be more willing to accept restrictions that they wouldn't be willing to accept on First Amendment rights. I mean, for instance, we had a magazine that published the the designs for the nuclear bomb, and that was deemed to be legal by the Supreme Court. But now I can't publish the 100-year-old design of the 1911, one of the most prolific firearms in history.
Yeah. There's a secondary irony here, which is that most of the blueprints for all the guns we care about are held in the public trust, not just in the patent office, but the Army Publishing Directorate. I mean, these are all public documents.
Right.
The number one offender in this scenario is actually still the U.S. government, because these are all public documents and blueprints.
Yeah, it is
Springfield and everything else. So it's okay, well, what do you want from me? It's I didn't invent the gun. Didn't the U.S. government invent the gun? But I'm with you, man. No, it's not meant to make sense, right? It's meant to be, to some degree, you can say it's cynicism. It's these AGs just knowing they can kind of, ghost guns aren't a real issue, and so it's easy to score points on this and kind of dunk on me and internet anarchists and be oh, we're protecting you against the scary ghost gun people. But then the other thing is this actual Chinese intent to somehow kind of prevent a future where people can easily have the means of making guns for themselves, and that's a scary future to consider.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. I mean, obviously, I think one of the major pushbacks to this concept of that technology is going to lead to greater human freedom is China, right? You can look at how they've been able to restrict access to information even in the digital age, and you could, in a sort of dystopian future, you could certainly see that applied to exactly what you're trying to do as well. Not fully and not completely, but it's not going to be as free as perhaps maybe we would. The idealist might imagine it to be.
It feels fully and complete to me, in fact. I don't think this is a cheap point to make, but we've actually encountered, through our moments of victory and moments of defeat, we've encountered the full weight of the U.S. style of suppression of the internet, which isn't just, police powers of the state and little states, but Facebook, Google, you understand, Instagram, all this stuff. And it's not like we're the only ones now. All the people in our space get bullied, pushed around, and kind of quietly taken out of the conversation. And I look at my booth in SHOT Show, a guy came by, I won't say his name, and he's like, hey, I was literally the guy at Facebook that black holed your companies when news of your victory came out. And when he says black hole, he means there's an actual tool at Facebook called Black Hole. And so if anyone mentions 3D guns or DefCAD links or even, Defense Distributed or something, that doesn't go anywhere. That gets absorbed into this system. and completely suppressed and cannot spread. The links are filtered in real time.
Yep.
This isn't a surprise to people anymore. But remember, it was only 2018 when this stuff just got deployed for the first time. So we are pretending, if we don't think we have almost a simultaneously evil system like China's, we just get the additional propaganda of pretending that we're the free people of the West.
I don't know that I fully would go that far, but I will say that there is a legitimate point there in terms of how the internet operates in America, even in free countries. It is largely controlled by sort of mega corporations. Amazon hosts most of the websites on the internet.
Yeah.
Facebook controls huge swaths of digital communication, whether on Facebook or through WhatsApp or what have you. There's a number of ways. And so there are mega corporations that do have a lot of pull over who gets to say what. It's not to the same degree as in China, but it's certainly something that people should consider and think about, because you're right. If you tried to post, they didn't just deplatform entities. Like, it's not just not going to let you have a Facebook group or a Facebook page. They can and do, in this case, block all mention of what you're doing. You can't even talk about it on Facebook, which is remarkable. Yeah, it's not, and it's something that I think a lot of people haven't caught up with, that happens, because you like to assume that a lot of these platforms would, maybe they don't want people spread it. There's plenty of controversy about deplatforming and whether it's necessary in this situation or another, or whatever, if it's beneficial or harmful. But this is further than that. Yeah.